Hi, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to go over doing some web page validation. Oh, let me change the title of this page here. There we go. So I've got a blank page pretty much. It's an HTML5 doc type definition, HTML tags. The head section has title element, character encoding meta. I have the author meta in there. In the body section, I simply have a headline 1, so there's really not much to this page at all. And if I go to my browser, I've already got it open here, that's it, just an H1. Now, web page validation is basically using a program or a service to check your web page for syntax errors. I'm feeling pretty confident about mine so far because there hasn't really been much on here. But when you first start making web pages, making validation errors is pretty easy to do. So I just want to kind of point out a couple really common ones. In fact, I'll do one right now. I'll just take away the slash there. So this is a pretty common error to make for a beginner web developer. They start off a tag. In this case, I've started a headline 1 tag, and I didn't close the tag properly. I have another opening tag. While I'm on this page, let me just put a little bit more content. I'll go and put a paragraph. A paragraph of text. Looks good. And let's see, I'm also going to go down here and I'm going to put in a hyperlink. Visit CNN. There we go. So my web page has a headline 1, has a paragraph, and it has a hyperlink. And I've got 2 errors on this page. Okay, 2 errors. Let's see what the validator says I have. So on my browser, I'm going to refresh. There's my page. Headline 1, paragraph, and then a hyperlink. Notice, by the way, how big my paragraph text is. It's the same size as my headline 1 text, and my hyperlink is also big and bold like my headline 1 text. This is a really common indicator that a tag wasn't closed properly. So now I'm going to validate, and there's really 2 ways I can go about that. I can go to a new tab here, and I can go to the W3C's online validator, which I'm a big fan of. It's basically validator.w3.org. Okay, that'll take me right to the validator, and I'll go to the option Validate by File Upload. And I'm going to browse for the file that I want to validate. It's in my 195 folder here. Let me just do what's under web demos. Oh, here it is. There's my page that I just created. So I've got it in here, and I'm going to click check. And look at this, result 4 errors. But I told you I only made 2, and I'm pretty confident I only made 2. So the first thing I want to tell you about using a validator service is that don't always trust the number of errors you get. Okay? So the best procedure for fixing your page for syntax errors is to go one by one, starting with the first error they list. So I'm going to scroll on down this page, and it's going to tell me about some of my errors. And the first one, it tells me I have an error on line 11. My heading cannot be a child of another heading. Basically, you can't put a heading in another heading. Okay? I haven't really talked much about child elements and parent elements and things, but it'll come up soon enough. But I can't put an H1 inside of another H1, which is exactly what I tried to do by starting an H1 before my previous H1 was finished. Okay? So my error message was pretty cryptic. It would have been nice if it just said, hey, you forgot to close your headline 1, but it didn't. So it does point me, though, that there was a problem on line 11. So if I go to line 11, sure enough, I double check it. Okay, I forgot the slash. Now, as soon as you make one correction, resave your page and then revalidate. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and I can click the revalidate button. Validate by file upload, browse, find that file again, check it. Now, hey, look, it says it's passed. Okay. Okay, well, I'm a little bit disappointed in this because I did have another mistake in there that I was hoping it would catch, and it hasn't. In the other error that I wanted to draw your attention to was my hyperlink down here. Okay, a hyperlink is an inline element that really should be contained within a block element, and block elements are things like paragraphs and headings and table data tags, table cells, divs. Those are block elements. So the most appropriate way to display this would be within its own set of paragraph tags. So the text visit CNN, although it's a short string of text, it still should belong in a block element. So HTML5 is very new, so the validator may not always pick out the things that we want it to pick out. Let me see if I can't mimic another common error. I've got this paragraph, and let's say your goal was to emphasize the entire paragraph. So I'll put a set of emphasis tags surrounding my paragraph. There we go. Now that I've got that, I've got it saved. I'm going to go back to my browser. Okay, so here's my web page. There's my headline 1, there's my paragraph, and there's my hyperlink. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to the validator. And let's see, I will, let me just go back to the main screen, validate by file upload, browse, get my page in question, check it. Okay, now it's telling me there's one potential error. Here we go. Element P not allowed as a child of element emphasis in this context. Well, that's a pretty cryptic error message, and it's a really tough one to understand until you've been making web pages for a while. But basically, emphasis is an inline element. Paragraph is a block element, and you can't put blocks inside of inline elements, but the opposite is true. So if my emphasis element was in between my opening and closing paragraph tags like it is right now, just to make this a little bit easier to read, I'll do it this way. Now this is good. So if I save this, go back to my validator, I'll just click my back button now, and I should just be able to hit check here, see what happens. There we go. This document was successfully checked as HTML5, so it's passed. It does tell me I have a warning, but that warning is going to be related to using HTML5, and it's still considered an experimental language, more or less. So that's a little bit about validation. It can be kind of weird and tricky, but as long as you kind of keep an eye on some of the most common mistakes. Make sure you close elements that you open, at least for most of them. Some elements are self-closing. And make sure that you put inline elements inside of block elements.